Hello, everyone. My name is Darin,
And I'm Ashley
and our presentation is going to be on media manipulation.
During our presentation, we will explain why or why not people can trust certain media sources. The media can be vulnerable to mistakes and manipulations in several different ways. In our presentation, we will be doing our best to convey our ideas without manipulating you guys, hopefully. Vulnerabilities include things such as when there's a lack of information, or when somebody doesn't really mind if the public receives correct or incorrect information. Some of that information is broad, while other times it's more narrow. First, we will talk about our real-life situation and knowledge questions that are stated up here on the PowerPoint. Our claims and secondary knowledge questions will follow, with connections to our real-life situation and our knowledge questions. Our real-life situation includes this picture of a man carrying a baby in a Syrian war zone. It was created by a newspaper. They photoshopped this image, and some of the media broadcasters changed the way the news is portrayed in order to appeal to viewers and hook their attention. Most of the time, they're targeting a specific audience. They can change the way the news is conveyed to trigger a certain emotion. Some broadcasters choose from a variety of news topics to grab the attention of the most viewers. To do that, they use fact selection. Fact selection is when somebody purposely leaves out details or facts that don't directly pertain to the matter, even if it could affect it, or when it goes against somebody or something that the author likes and it makes them look bad. In the case of the man carrying the baby, the newspaper edited the image as war propaganda to influence public opinion. And they obviously left out some details about the war in the piece, such as how severe it was at the exact time of the picture, or how many people have been wounded or killed recently. Our knowledge question states, how do we know who or what sources of information we can trust? In our opinion, we wouldn't trust this newspaper that photoshopped this image again when it comes to wars and important world topics. Like the rest of the world, we want dependable information. The 8 ways of knowing are emotion, faith, intuition, imagination, language, memory, reason, and sense perception. We'll be focusing more on emotion, intuition, language, and reason. Language relates because language relates to our real life situation and knowledge question because it's not a perfect way of conveying an idea. It's the only way humans can release their thoughts into the world. The paper in the newspaper over here could have been saying one thing, but we could have just been thinking negatively and interpreted it wrong. As far as we know, it could have been a joke or a fake newspaper. We could have misunderstood it completely, as languages are difficult to translate and interpret. They would have had to translate it for those who don't speak Arabic. Things tend to get lost in translation, and maybe they put information in about the war, but it got interpreted and translated wrong. Emotion is what drives our actions, and intuition drives our emotions, along with our past experiences. According to our TLK books and our class, there is no specific source of emotion. Emotion can be created with the help of other ways of knowing. Our first claim is, are protocols followed and how do we know? There are protocols put into place to guarantee the reliability of a claim or story presented by a newspaper, a television program, or a magazine. Journalists often peer review articles for other journalists, even though they are not specialists in the topic of the articles. So technically, they're not peer reviewed properly. They do not know for certain if the information of the piece is correct primarily focusing on whether or not it can grab attention or whether or not the spelling and punctuation is correct. They use words like scandal and hate crime in the title or description of an article or television show to interest the viewers. The reporters, editors, and producers should go over the facts with actual professionals on the topics they write about. For example, reviewing the facts with the police would be a proper tactic of verifying information on a criminal case. If a witness told a writer of an article that they saw a policeman shoot a suspected criminal for no obvious reason, that might not have been the case after all. It's more than likely not the whole story. It's possible that policemen saw the criminal reach for a weapon of some sort and saw it as a threat. If it was published solely on the view of the bystander, the entire piece would be compromised and legal issues could occur. It wouldn't hurt to back up any information that we gathered. It would be like believing a rumor about your friend that you hear from a stranger. You don't know the person giving you the information, and you didn't see what your friend supposedly did. Everybody is questioning what really happened. So, what would you do? Most people would answer they would stand up for their friend, or they would go straight to the source itself, the friend.
So our counterclaim is, every so often sources admit they give wrong information, so people are less likely to trust that source. The media might release false information and have a retraction, a public statement of misinformation. When this occurs, people tend to question whether or not that specific source is reliable anymore. There are two main protocols that officials take to confirm the information. During the investigation of the piece, the reporter takes specific measures to ensure the credibility of the information and the source of the information. An example of where protocol fails is when a certain issue of Rolling Stones magazine was published. The main article was about the 2012 horrific gang rape of an 18-year-old girl named Jackie on the campus of the University of Virginia. She states that she was invited by one of her male upperclassmen to a fraternity party by the name of Phi Kappa Psi, when she was led into a room only to be pinned down and violated. Jackie had an interview with the Washington Post about the incident, and Rolling Stone's contributing editor, Sabrina Rubin Erdely, said that she spent weeks corroborating Jackie's account and found her completely credible. But the Post presses her on why she didn't speak to other interviewers. About a week later, it was found that Phi Kappa Psi did not have a social event that weekend of the incident. Jackie's friends found out that the alleged leader of the gang rape belonged to a different fraternity. That same day, Rolling Stones released a statement that they made an agreement with her not to contact the assailants in order to be understanding of her unfair shame. And they also stated that they should have better convinced her to be able to talk to the assailants to get the other side of the story. The world doesn't like false information and goes against the identity of truth. More than a few media sources have lied, and because of that, a large amount of people have become skeptics over the years, whether or not it has been intentional. In the 1980s, the entertainment and news needs to be separate and overall more trustworthy. Around 2010, it became news and entertainment together. So suddenly, the news wasn't the main point, but gaining viewers and profit was. There wasn't any need for a reporter, editor, or publisher to verify the information to the best of their ability because it was just for the entertainment of the viewers. Unless there was a magnitude of contradictions in their publications, false news would go by undetected and people would not realize what they thought were facts were actually fictitious.
So our second claim. Like psychologists, the media often tries to convince us of what is right or truthful. Psychologists try to change the way we think as in bad versus good, while the media wants us to believe their story or buy their product. An example of this would be when an elderly person tries to exaggerate their past. It could be wars they were in or anything about their past that they wanted to exaggerate a little bit. People with the media are not the only ones that can alter a story that gets shared locally or across the world. Whether it's for marketing or anything else, the media industry is liable for its deceitful tactics to influence our subconscious and therefore our behaviors and opinions. It has been revealed throughout the years that several politicians have done questionable things to keep their secrets from going out to the rest of the world. There are several TV shows where this happens, so it gets put in the minds of the viewers that it can happen. And then there's the assumption that all politicians do this, to an extent. For an example, the entire show Scandal is about a woman named Olivia Pope, who is a professional media manipulator. She hides the secrets of the wealthy, the powerful, and even the president. She can make a story go away, so an assumption the viewers begin to make is that it is justified to suspect others of doing this to the real stories of the world.
To begin our third claim, how do we know what is truthful on the internet? Social media provides us with ways to connect with people we usually would not interact with otherwise. In theory, the broader range of connections we experience because of social media should make us more informed citizens of the world. However, through the daily uses of the population using Twitter or Facebook, we may not be more informed about the important or pressing issues occurring around the world. I found a study that states how social media is shaping the news. This study draws attention to the fact that of all the news and information social media users encounter, 73% of that information is of news that is entertainment related. While entertainment news is a good thing, the question becomes, are we balancing this type of news to the news that is relevant to the world events? The study did not show how much of that information is incorrect or it could be wrong in some way. For our English assignments, our teachers have told us to always confirm whatever we find on the internet. We either have to find 3 sources on different educational places on the internet that can back up the information we get from our first source on the internet, or we have to find a book or person who can support the information gathered. On Facebook, we have seen several pictures, presumably photoshopped, that President Obama wants off the internet. Several people photoshopped photos of him kissing other people besides his wife. They said that he wants it off, and as people are so rebellious, they share it, which might get them more likes or shares of their posts. They do it to share something interesting with their friends or for social gain. There are many misconceptions about the internet. Ashley's great-grandma believes there is no truth on the internet and that it's made up of stuff people say for fun. I tried explaining domains such as .org or .edu to her, but she just thought I was wrong. Unlike Wikipedia or Facebook, some sites fact-check what people post. They submit it like an author submits a non-fictional book. When a publisher receives a non-fictional book, they have to make sure it's historically and factually accurate in order to avoid legalities. They can't just blindly trust the information from a source like many of us do. This blind trust is not because of a lack of resources, but rather it seems to be a tendency among the human population to take the fastest route. In conclusion, while some media sources make it easiest for us to detect lies or misinterpretations, it can be tricky to understand which information is falsified. Our study made us think of all the information we have gathered in our lifetimes from the internet, the news on cable, and fictional books that has led us to the conclusion that we can't blindly trust any information we get. It needs to be reasonable to us so our intuition doesn't get confused, and it can be only conveyed in a way our language skills can interpret. We hope you can take what we have told you today and apply it to your own lives outside this classroom. Thank you for your time.